Well, let's get some more analysis now. We can cross to Ramallah and speak to Noor Odeh, who is a political analyst and former spokesperson for the Palestinian authorities. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us. Can I just start by asking for your reaction to the comeback of Benjamin Netanyahu 18 months after he was ousted?
Well, I think regrettably, this was very predictable. The Israeli ruling parties, if you will, have learned that there are no consequences for going more towards the hard right. There are no consequences for adopting rejectionist anti-Palestinian policies, for adopting or demanding policies as part of the coalition agreements that openly discriminate against Palestinians, against the LGBT community, and against other sectors. So, in the absence of accountability, why would someone that presents himself like Yair Lapid to be more moderate, who doesn't really have a clear policy on anything, and who also rejects peace with the Palestinians, why should he win? When the Israeli electorate, which has gone further to the right, can have the real deal, which is the coalition of the extremists you have now.
We've already seen pretty serious violence in the West Bank in recent months. Do you think we're now going to be looking at an escalation?
Well, let me just put it in perspective for your viewers. The daily reality of occupation for Palestinians is a reality of violence, even when it doesn't make headline news. And this year in particular, according to the UN, has been the deadliest in the West Bank for the past 16 years. We've seen the highest number of Palestinians killed, the highest number of Palestinian children killed at the hands of the Israeli army. We have seen an unprecedented spike in attacks, violent attacks and arson attacks by Israeli settlers, all of them without any accountability, of course. And we've seen the kinds of agendas that are being advanced by cabinet members that will now be governing the lives of the Palestinians against their will, of course, by the likes of Itamar Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. These will be the two people responsible for controlling every aspect of Palestinian life, the flow of goods, the movement of people, the rules of engagement. When can an Israeli soldier shoot and when can he not at a Palestinian? And those regulations are already extremely relaxed and they breed impunity as per international reports. Imagine what they will be now with someone at the helm like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who thinks that it is unacceptable for his wife to share a room in a hospital with a Palestinian woman in a maternity ward. That's the kind of hateful agenda that these people bring into the government, and it will translate, regrettably, as Palestinians predict, into more brutality and more persecution in their everyday dealings.
Obviously, lots of Israel's allies and enemies are looking at this new lineup with a degree of concern. And we've heard Benjamin Netanyahu saying he wants to have more diplomatic breakthroughs with other Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, which until now has resisted going down the same road as other regional powers, other Gulf states. Do you think Saudi Arabia will eventually go down that road? And what's your message to other countries that might be thinking of engaging with this new political lineup in Israel?
Look, I think that democratic countries like France and others should be asking themselves a very simple question. If this government were representing any other country, how would we act? And frankly, the answer, I think I would predict, would be that there would be serious consequences for this lineup, serious consequences for these kinds of policies that are included in the coalition agreement. Countries that respect the values they uphold and are consistent with those claims of such values must act accordingly. This government should not be given any legitimacy. It should not be given. It should not be dealt with as a normal, acceptable government with an acceptable agenda. This kind of colonization and apartheid policies should not be whitewashed or covered up or legitimized. And that's really the only way we can ensure that a road back to anything resembling sensible can be charged ahead. Barring that, this government will look very moderate compared to what we will see the next time around if the right wing and the hard right feel more encouraged and see that there are no consequences for their objectionable policies.
You paint a pretty bleak picture, but let me just ask you as a final question, do you see any causes for optimism out there?
I see one, which is quite ironic, and I'm sure that Netanyahu did not intend for it. I think this government's policy is inescapable. It is too far out there to be covered up or excused. And in a way, I think that this government might be the sort of accelerant to decolonization that those of us who want to see a peace in this tormented land finally arrive. Countries have to face these hard questions and make the right choices in order for that government to lead us to that, you know, off chance possibility of ending colonial occupation and finally reaching peace.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Political analyst Noor Odeh, thank you very much indeed.